Hello, Kennedy.
Hello, Joanne. How are you?
I'm good. Nice to see you.
Nice to meet you.
It's been some time. It's actually been some time since I saw you in Kenya. I think last time this year was when I was last in Kenya.
It was about February last year, just before the Africa in Mombasa, if I'm not wrong.
Exactly, that's correct. Just before the world changed completely.
Yeah, it's over a year, to be honest. Yeah, now we are in March 2021, so it's more than a year since I last saw you.
A long time. How are things in Kenya at the moment?
Actually, I must say they're stable in the sense that since beginning of this year, we have seen the number of cases down compared to last year, reported cases daily under 200 cases, which is very encouraging. And then schools reopened in January this year, and they've been running since then. The first term is almost over, so that's good and nothing terrible. And yeah, now with the vaccine, let's hope even more good news will come.
Yeah, I hope very much so that is the case. So I think it would be great to hear a little bit from you for our customers, and of course always for us, about how the harvest has been in Kenya this year. But also a little bit about how things have changed, because you've been working in coffee in Kenya for many, many years. And every time I'm visiting, I'm learning more about what's going on in any specific season. But we also see some general changes that have happened over the course of sort of the last 5 or 10 years in the way the industry is structured.
Yeah, that's true. There have been changes. I can say everything here seems to be dynamic these days. When I started working in coffee, that's back in early 1990s, it was only Kenya Planters Cooperative Union handling all produce, doing the milling, and then Coffee Board of Kenya doing the regulatory work as well as the marketing. The marketing was through the central auction, nothing else outside the auction. But with time, there came agitation for changes in the system of marketing coffee because farmers felt maybe with only KPCU handling the produce, they are not getting full value, and there was no transparency because there were cases of money being mishandled by these government agencies. So now that brought in as what we call now a second window. So coffee could go either the auction way or could be sold direct. And then the number of marketing agents also increased. Instead of only KPCU, other marketing agents registered, and now farmers could choose how they want to market their coffee and through whom. And then another thing on the milling side, independent mills were set up. Instead of KPCU milling everything, now we have independent mills which are private. And yeah, all that has added value to the farmers in a way, one way or another. Yeah.
How many marketing agents and how many mills exist in Kenya now?
So for marketing agents, we have about 10. I don't have the exact figure, to be honest, but I can check later. But for mills, I can tell you they're mushrooming every year because farmers, in a way, have something in their heads. If we mill our own coffee, then we'll get better grades and we'll get better quality. It's just something in their heads, which is not true because now we are having overcapacity of installed mills. You'll find like in every county, there are mills. So as we are talking, there are more than 30 mills in Kenya, some of them doing nothing.
Wow.
They have installed the mills, but nothing. It's just a waste of farmers' money. Yeah, it's just dry mills. Yes, I'm talking about dry mills.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, that's what I was asking. I just wanted to clarify. Yeah, that's a lot of, and you need a lot of volume to make a mill sustainable.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Because some of these mills are set up by a cooperative, and at most we have seen cooperatives milling or having cherry, maybe the biggest one, 8 million kilos of cherry. If you work that back to green, it's nothing. So to set up a mill just to handle that kind of volume, it's a waste of money.
It's sad to hear. But last time I was in Kenya, it also seemed like there were some changes around marketing agents and their operating. Has anything come into effect yet?
So that did not materialize because this was to be amended through a law of parliament, not just a resolution by someone. So when it went further ahead, it flopped, and there were some petitions from farmers. So what was trying to be pushed was to have coffee sold through what we call a central depository system. So that would have meant all proceeds of coffee sold will go to one fund controlled by the government, and then the money distributed to the farmers. But there was some resistance because some of the problems we have had in Kenya have been as a result of money being in the hands of this one kitty controlled by government. So farmers think they may lose again if that's allowed to happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for the moment, that's been put to bed and it's not going to happen.
It may happen. The bill is still being revised in a different way, but we know the intention is still the same.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
And I mean, for us as from the outside and people, we know we're an importer and we work in many different countries, but Kenya is one of the countries that we consider to actually have quite good regulation and infrastructure for producing coffee and for creating quite an open market for coffee. So you spoke just now about how a producer can now sell through the auction, but also can sell directly through a marketing agent. I'm interested to hear from you, someone who works in the industry in Kenya. What about the structure of the Kenyan coffee industry? What are the positive things for you, and what are the things that you think are challenges?
So positive things are when we talk of transparency, like a Nordic approach and a Tropic, you buy coffee we call specialty coffee. This is coffee you need a full transparency. And this is something very easy to track in Kenya because every lot that has been delivered to a wet mill can be tracked through an outer number up to the time it goes to a dry mill until the time we sell it to you. You can track that lot. And this doesn't happen in many places because in many places things just get mixed up. So if a certain lot is very good in quality, in Kenya you can find it and you can trace it back, and you can even trace back what the farmer was paid for that lot. That's the beauty of the system in Kenya. And then because of the auction system, there is full transparency of the price paid. You can easily request for reports just to see what was sold at what prices. And there is a very clear formula of working out what should be paid back to the farmer. That's from the auction. There are some levies in between, and they are very clearly stipulated. And then you can see what the farmer gets in the end. So that's the beauty of the Kenya system. The disappointing thing is something we touched on earlier, allowing of anyone who wants to open a dry mill, for instance, just to open for the sake of opening one without considering the volumes available to be marketed. I think that's something that should be controlled, maybe by way of law, maybe in a certain radius, just to say, in this radius, we cannot allow more than one dry mill. And then that will bring sense into how farmers' money is utilized, because right now all this is farmers' money being mismanaged, or maybe there are loans borrowed from banks. At the end of the day, it's the same farmer who should pay those loans. And then another thing that's happening in Kenya, there's too much politicking. Always someone wakes up one day and says, oh, Kenya farmer is getting very little for his coffee. Whereas we know the Kenya farmer is among the highly paid in terms of the prices Kenya coffee realizes. Another thing that I would like to see happen is more going into research and development of new varieties and to improve what the farmer can produce per tree, because right now what's ailing the industry is you find the Kenya farmer produces very little per tree. So instead of fighting for higher prices, this farmer should, in a way, be insensitized to produce more per tree. Then even at a certain stable price, they'll have more earnings than just fighting for higher prices every year. So those are kind of things I would like to see being addressed, and then maybe the farmer will be better positioned.
Yeah, those are really good points. I think the increasing the yield is one of the most powerful things a farmer can do to improve the earnings.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've also seen, not just in Kenya, but everywhere that I have visited, because now it's been, even for me, like 8 years of visiting countries. And you see how the climate is changing all the time, when it is raining, when it is dry. So we definitely understand that this is a reality that producers, farmers, and everyone in the supply chain is struggling with. So I'd just like to hear from your perspective what you have seen and how you have seen the climate change and the effects of this on producing coffee in Kenya.
So climate affects farmers and impacts directly onto whatever they're going to get at the end of the day. I'll give an example. Last year, 2020, rains started sometime in December, and then carried on through January, February, March. Those months are expected to be dry in Kenya. And when it's dry, the coffee tree is prepared to flower when the rains come. They undergo some stress, and when rains come, then the flowering is wonderful. But last year, because rains just carried on after the harvest, those trees were not prepared. So we saw some flowering in January last year, and then another flash of flowering in February, another flash in March. So it's like the coffee tree was confused. So the flowering that happened was so little. That meant a drop in the crop. So yes, we have seen a very healthy harvest when coffee was harvested from October, because the harvesting started that early. In terms of grade retention, there was plenty of AA and plenty of AB, but little smallish beans, which is good for the farmer. But volume-wise, it was so little, and that impacts directly on the farmer. And then with all these changes in weather patterns, even the farmers become confused when to apply inputs, because they know when it's consistent, the weather pattern, at this time we should be applying this, at this time we should be pruning, at this time we should be doing this. But last year, with all this climate change, there was a bit of confusion on how farmers could handle this. But luckily, the rains carried on throughout the year. So in terms of whatever had flowered, they got good harvest, which was low in volume, but in grade retention, we saw very good grades, AA and ABs. But again, we have had instances when it has been dry, rains fail completely, and that has been a disaster. Good examples in the year 2018, when the crop just dropped because of dry weather, rains didn't appear. So climate change is really impacting on our farmers, and they don't have another mechanism to mitigate for it. In advanced countries, maybe irrigation would come in handy when rains fail, but here farmers just relying on natural weather conditions, that's the rains. So when the rains fail, it's terrible for them.
Yeah, that's understandable. And I mean, for us this year, we have seen, it's been some years since I've cupped coffees from Kenya that have tasted as good as the coffees we've been cupping this year. I feel like the quality has been really high and the coffees have been very expressive and open.
I tend to agree with you, Joanne. What we saw, it's like last year, the trees were well fed because of good rains and whatever inputs farmers applied. We have really been very impressed with the quality, which is good. We hope, again, the coming season, we can see better or something matching what we saw this year.
Yeah. And then I was thinking more, it's interesting to think about the future of Kenyan production, because I've also seen that change quite a lot, even where farms are situated in in relation to Nairobi and how production is kind of moving to different areas, and how, you know, Nyeri used to be somewhere where, oh, all the quality comes from Nyeri, and now we see that there are so many areas, once given the chance to establish themselves, Kirinyaga, Embu, that can produce very, very fantastic coffees. So I'm interested to hear from you what other changes you think will happen in the next 5 or 10 years for the coffee producer and in the industry as a whole in Kenya.
I anticipate big changes in terms of producing regions, because as you mentioned, when I started working in the industry, there was a lot of coffee just around Nairobi. That's the area around Kiambu, Thika. These are very close to the city. But with the growing of the city, expanding of the city, land is needed for putting up houses, school, office blocks, and this has encroached into coffee farming. So we have seen a lot of farmland under coffee disappearing around Nairobi. And areas around Nyeri, Kirinyaga, there's this thing in Kenya of family land being split when kids become of age. So many of that land that had coffee, maybe a father had 5 sons and had 5 hectares under coffee. Each son now becoming mature and they want to start their own family, the father has to subdivide the land among them. So you find the 5 hectares split among 5 sons, each getting an hectare. And then maybe out of the 5, only 2 are interested in coffee. So the 3 hectares, the other sons decide to do other things. So that cuts down on production. So there are new areas that may be potential for coffee. That's in the west, on the west of the country, areas near Kitale, Bungoma, Kisii, borders Tanzania on that side of the region. Those areas have potential. They still have plenty of land. The elevation is good, the rains are good. At the moment, they're growing only corn, or what we call maize here. But if farmers need more value to come out of that land, maybe they could try coffee. There's some coffee coming out of there, but no much attention has been paid to it. And then buyers like you traditionally just know the central highlands near Mount Kenya. Maybe time is coming to start exploring coffees from the west of the country and see how that fits your like of the palate. Maybe it would be a good thing to do that in coming years. That's how I see it. And even for volume, for Kenya to continue having significant volume produced, we need to identify new areas, definitely.
Absolutely. I have a question on what you were saying there. You said that not much attention is being paid to these coffees in the West, but do you mean not much attention by buyers like us, but also in maybe the production of the coffee, so it's not maybe able to reach the maximum potential at the moment?
Yes, it's both by the buyers. Any buyer you speak to, asking them what they would prefer in terms of Kenya quality, they'll tell you, we want a Nyeri, we want a coffee from Kirinyaga. But when you mention to them, there's a beautiful coffee from Mount Elgon, they'll say, but we have never heard about that. Could we try? Because I think in a way, all of us are biased in a way.
Absolutely.
Even if something is good, and then you hear, no, it came from this region, then right away you dismiss it. It's not good enough. But that area has good potential. And on the part even of the local administration, no one has really encouraged farmers from those regions to grow coffee as a source of income. So that needs to be done. So it's both ways, locally and also on the part of buyers overseas.
So we can expect great things in the coming years from Western Kenya.
Please do visit when you're here, when things open up, and you'll be impressed. There's a lot to be done.
Absolutely. I look forward to both visiting and tasting some of these coffees. I will keep my mind more open in the future.
Please do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think you have gone through a lot of the topics I wanted to touch on with you. Is there anything else you feel you should add, or anything that we have missed, or do you think is important for people to know?
I think maybe another question that will keep on popping up is, how did COVID affect?
Of course.
Yeah. So I can say to a large extent, COVID was not a big deterrent to coffee production in Kenya because, as you know, many of the farms are small, handled by the family. So they didn't need maybe labor from elsewhere. And because of COVID, maybe they could not get labor. So again, that was not a worry. But the only concern was farm inputs became expensive because of the regulations in place, maybe transport, importing. We saw a significant increase in terms of getting farm inputs. Then another impact that was caused to the farmer is maybe just things to do with sanitation to control COVID, maybe buying face masks and maybe sanitizers. That was an extra expense to this farmer, which they were not prepared for. It may look small, but when it's added up, like you have to buy face masks every day, sanitizers every now and then, and this and that, it became an added burden to them. But generally across the board, COVID did not impact coffee farming in Kenya.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. And I hope that people continue to be safe and that the numbers continue to go down.
We really hope so.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, Kennedy. And I hope you also keep well and that your family are well and healthy and that you still get to play some golf, maybe.
Yeah, we look forward to that. You're most welcome. We had a nice round of golf with Andreas and Morten when they were here last month. It was so nice, and yeah, we really had a good time.
Good. I'm glad to hear it.
Good.
Oh, thank you so much. And I won't take up any more of your time. I know it's there's still a busy time for you, but thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.